learning how to be a ninja with the data in a location undisclosed. And so it'll primarily be me today talking about some of the topics in education. And some of the topics that we're dealing with right now, we're looking at the state as we think about TISA, the new student funding formula. We're looking at Hillsdale College and one of the statements that we put out and where that is, but also locally. We're looking at it as budget season, and we're looking at what are some of the things that parents want to see where we put our resources at. And so as people start to come on, let me know you here. Like I said, I'm here alone today, so I'm gonna need all the love. And we'll get this conversation started. So start sharing out and just let people know, access denied is going on. But I'm pulling it up now. All righty. All righty. Yeah. Somebody let me know you're here before we get started. Okay, Jacqueline Davis, my friend. I ain't seen you in a while. Good to see you on here. We got the campaign call coming up. Not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. I want to say that is the 17th or the 19th. Let me get this banner going on. Let me get the brand. So yeah, just as we start, and I see we got a few parents on here. What are some of the issues? What are some of the places that you think, as we have our budget? I told you budget season is coming up. Last year budget was about 1.3 billion, and a lot of the money, well, a half or a good portion of the money is dedicated to teachers and things like running the school building. And then there are other things that we really put our money into that's convenient on how we teach. And so as you think about opportunities and items, like where would you want to put your money at? Where would you want us to put our money when we think about the school system as a whole? All right, I see we got people coming in. I see Mr. Driver in saying good morning. Um, Jacqueline says noted. But one of the articles that I'm gonna pull up, it'll really start to discuss where we are as we think about student-based formula. The reason this is important now, because whatever the formula comes about, it's likely that it's going to be more money that comes into our school system. And so, as we're talking about budgets as a whole, I also want to look at the budget from the state and what TISA really means, and just to get you guys' opinion on it. We'll talk a little bit about the tutoring program. We won't talk about the hot mic, but I do want to like just break down like how do we do a school funding plan, because as I talk to parents, one of the things that always comes up is our schools are underfunded, and as we discuss the budget, people start to create like creative ways on how do we think we should spend our money. And shout out to Christian Bush. Christian convened the meeting. I want to say it was last Friday, and just really went over the budget. And I didn't get a lot of time to spend in the meeting, but I had this very large packet, and it helped me reinforce like how do we repurpose and how do we put our financial resources and our time where it's most needed. And so one of the things that I'm going to try to do in a digital sense is put the budget out there so you guys can see the line items on where the district spends the money. How is it doing? How much are we spending there? Like, what return are we getting? It was one time, I want to say about 3 years ago, there was a reading program that was costing, it was either 7 or 12 million, but I'm going to say seven. And I remember when the board looked at the results of the reading program, they realized that 7 million was not helping enough kids be able to read on grade level or progress in reading. And so, as they looked at the budget for the upcoming year, that was one of the things that they decided to cut. And it was a tough moment, only because like some people really believed in the program, but the leadership at the time looked at the cost, they looked at how many students it was helping, the effectiveness, and then they just said, "Hey, like it's not going to work on this time." So and they cut it and they repurpose that 7 million for another opportunity. And so there are ways, there are opportunities, and would love to hear from you guys. Like, where do you want the district to spend? Like, what are some of the things that we should be investing in um, with resources? Some people would say, as we've seen in the news, invest in our bus drivers, right? Some people have reached out and said, hey, like the bus was 2 hours late. And so the first thing that people did was look at the bus drivers, and the bus driver said, well, yeah, 2 hours late, but it's only a few of us, and we need more bus drivers. And so we started to realize that there may need to be an investment in the bus drivers. Another person I heard from, which I love, are the lunch ladies, right? The lunch ladies said the cost of living in Nashville is going up. We haven't gotten a significant pay raise. They got a cost of living adjustment, which they call COLA. But when the insurance goes up, the COLA goes up. And so it kind of like net zeros itself. And so they were like, it's been very hard to be on the low end of the totem pole. And they want more resources to go to make sure that they can survive and live in this city. I also heard from paraprofessionals who are like, teachers in our classroom. And these are some of the people who, if a kid has an IEP, an individualized education plan, they kind of go from classroom to classroom. They support them, help feed them. And they were also saying, that although the teachers got raises, that they didn't get raises. And they were like, well, we need better pay because, again, like everyone else, the cost of living is going up in Nashville. So as parents, Jacqueline, Rhea, Thomas, like, let me know, like, what are some of the things that we need to be investing our resources in here in the city as we go through the budget? I see Waukesha's jumped on. Thank you for that. Hawata has jumped on. I see Miss Haley has jumped on. Miss Dobbs is watching. Like, thank you guys. Like, let us know. Because these are the conversations that we want to make sure is being led when you have a budget and you have it in front of you and you have the ability. There are people at the table each and every day, and special interest to me is not a bad word. It's only special interest when those people don't allow regular everyday people to tap in and give comment. And so everyday special interests advocate for what they want to see in a budget. They look through it with a fine tooth comb. They think about how the budget will best benefit them or the communities they work in. And so I want to make sure parents are special interests. I want to make sure parents have a special interest to see academic achievement increase, or I want to make sure parents see the ability to have a school upgraded. Like if a roof is down, if a school needs a fence, if you believe your paraprofessional needs more pay. And so feel free to chime in and let me know. And I'll wait a little bit as I pull up this article to read over. What are some of the things that we need to be spending our resources as we go through budget season with Metro Nashville Public Schools? Last year, the budget was 1.3 billion, and there may be opportunities with new revenue to do some things. There may not be, but I think the biggest thing that we want to figure out is if we do have additional resources or the same resources we have, where should we be putting the money? And so as it starts to come in, I'm gonna pull up an article that we'll read and kind of go through, and then again, like, get you guys' opinion. But it's an article about how some are advocating for additional pay. It was written up in the Tennessean. I want to say the person who was quoted has been working in the district for over 20 years, maybe even 30. And don't know if you guys can see it, but let me pull this up. Okay, got it. Let me blow this up a little bit. Okay, let me take that one off. Okay, so the headline is Show Me My Respect. Metro Nashville Public Schools eyes pay increases for support staff an upcoming budget proposal. And I'll just read a couple of them. Employee pay is again the top priority for Nashville school leaders this budget cycle. Despite a historic nearly $50 million investment to revamp the district's teachers' pay structure, classified employees and support staff have continued to raise concerns that their pay is not keeping up with other district employees and with the rising cost to live in Nashville. The Metro Nashville Board of Education has not presented or voted on an official budget request yet this spring and might not until district officials know whether the mayor, John Cooper, intends to invest more dollars into the city's public schools this year, Dr. Battle said. And then just the last thing, it says more than 7.6 million will be needed for a step increase or salary increase under the district's pay structure for both certified and support staff. A 1% cost of living adjustment would cost another 5.5 million. And she says the board's top priority for the past several years has been employee compensation. Battle said during a school board budget committee meeting on that Tuesday. So the board's top priority for the past several years has been employee compensation. And I'll take that down. So as you guys hear this and see this, what are some of the things that kind of drive top of mind for you? When you look at the resources and the priorities and you look at the people, like, these terms, like think about the lunch lady, think about the teacher who is walking the student down the hall who may or may not be in a wheelchair or may need special assistance. Think about the bus drivers. There was a wreck, and I want to say it was Hermitage yesterday afternoon. That there's a lot of traffic to even get through. But as you look at these, like, what are some of the things that come top of mind for you guys? And so I'll tell you as the comments start to come in, I think employee compensation is super duper important, and this is very high on the list. And I think it may even be a high number two, like an A plus plus. But I think our top priority, and this kind of goes hand in hand, and I think words matter. The top priority has to be how we educate our kids, which factors into compensation and how we treat our employees, because our employees are the ones who are teaching our kids, transporting our kids, giving extra support. And so I think as parents, what we also have to do is hold accountable that the top priority always has to be academic achievement. We have graduations coming up this May, and boy, am I excited! Like it's nothing like watching your niece, your nephew. I got a niece that's graduating from Glen Cliff this May. It's nothing like seeing family, friends, or just students walk across the stage, accomplish something that they have been working on since kindergarten or maybe even pre-K, and feel so accomplished. And many are getting ready for the next level. Some are going into, trade school. Some are going into the military who may have done ROTC. Many have, filled out college applications and are getting acceptance letters, or have already received it. But it's also a large group of students who are walking across that stage, and this is the most exciting time of their lives. And then the next morning they wake up and they realize that they haven't been prepared to have a new direction or a destination, or they feel because they have taken a test, maybe it's the ASVAB test, maybe it's the ACT or SAT, or even the EOC in high school, and they realize through taking these tests, they're not academically ready to take it to the next level, and they find themselves like starting to spin and try to figure out kind of, what's that next move. And so when I think about our budget before I move on, like I really feel it's important to make academic achievement, academic growth, the ability to be thriving in our city or any other city once you graduate high school or fully prepare for college to be a top priority, because that sets everything in motion. And again, in order to do that, like, you also got to make sure the people who are serving our kids physically, socially, emotionally, and directly, like, can survive in our city. And so it goes hand in hand. And so that's an issue. Again, feel free to chime in as we go through access denied today, and let us know if there are other issues that you want to discuss. But again, like, as we think about having our kids academically ready, it's the opportunity of a lifetime to continue to grow and get that next feeling, where it's starting your own business, or going to college and looking forward to college graduation, or going to trade school, or going to the military. I took the ASVAB, um, and it was kind of the same as like any entrance exam. And I just realized it was one kid in there who, that was his lifelong dream, to be in the military. And for the life of him, he just could not get past the test. And so these are things that really affect us, because I don't know how he's doing now. It's been years, but I know his main plan, his focus was not college, not trade school. It was a military. His barrier was maybe he wasn't a good test taker, or maybe he just wasn't academically prepared, but it slowed that progress down. And that's a real deal for a lot of us. And so just be on the lookout for that. But the last thing I want to talk about, because I think it's really important. So we have this new funding formula that's coming up. The current funding formula is called BEP, Basic Education Plan. Um, and the state's budget is 58 million, with a portion of that going into public education and education as a whole. There have been lawsuits, there have been debates, discussions. They redid the BEP back in 2010, 2011. And it's all around, like, how do you allocate the best resources to the community, right? Like, this budget is important because BP was around for 20, 25 plus years. And now we're trying to figure out another funding formula called TISA, which is Tennessee Investment. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up to make sure I don't get it wrong, but I know it's around Tennessee Investment. And I'm gonna pull up this article and just go over it, because I think it's important that we discuss things like this, and also, like, get commentary and feedback on what does this mean for you. Like, as you look at this formula, do you think it's gonna solve our issues financially? Do you think if we solve the issues financially, will it help us academically? And like, those are the big questions when we think in the next 10 years, it'll be 2032. We'll be 10 years older. There'll be 10 classes of students who have graduated from high school, 10 classes who have graduated from college, and the world spins, right? And so the headline on this says, how much will local communities contribute under the new education plan? Let me pull this up. And as I right before I pull it up, I see we got one comment. Ms. Gardner says, is the math curriculum working with so many students failing? It's a system that the teachers have to learn also. How can we teach something if you are not seasoned in the practice? Right. Can't teach somebody how to ride a bike if you don't know how to ride a bike either. It's easy to get the manual and say, get on the bike, put one foot on the pedal, one foot on the ground, and then go. Yeah, that's not going to work. I mean, it's going to be a crash and burn, because even knowing how to ride a bike, and if you have tried to teach your kid how to ride a bike, it's likely the first time they take off, maybe the second or third time they fall and hit the ground. And that's us. Like, I can get on a bike easily and ride it with my eyes closed. But yeah, that was a great point, Joyce. And so again, the headline says, how much will local communities contribute under the new education plan? It's complicated. And when we're talking about billions of dollars and you figure something is complicated, that's maybe something we need to look into because it's complicated for a reason. And so the first part reads, for weeks, messaging from state officials about Governor Bill Lee's proposed new education funding formula has aimed to assure local communities they will not have to contribute more funding for schools in the first few years of the plan. Education Commissioner Penny Swin said publicly that local contributions in the fiscal years 2024, 25, and 26 are set to be lower under the new formula. State officials have said there's an overall 70-30 split, which means out of every dollar, the city commits 70 cents and the state commits 30 cents for the base per pupil spending along the weights. But the picture is more complicated. In fact, those broad brushes don't take into account how some districts may have to contribute more, even if the districts, when looked at all together, will be contributing 30% and won't see the local share increase. And so just some of these fiscal capacity will be established by the CBR, which is the comptroller, approved by the state board. But it says 28 districts will be required to contribute more in the fiscal 2024, though the majority of the state's 147 school districts will see lower requirements in the first year under the Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement. And so education officials say that additional state dollars provided as part of the plan in most cases would more than offset any of those increases in local contributions. And so this is just a topic that I do want to make sure we keep top of mind as we think about the funding formula, as we think about locally what it means. So if we have a budget of $1 billion, just to give a round number, that means 300 million has come from the state, and the 700 million has come from the city. And so it's a lot of resources that are floating around. But I just think, again, to break it down in like just regular everyday parents terms, who we don't look at this stuff, for $1 billion, or let's say for $100 out of every $100 that goes to public education here in Nashville, the city gives 70 cents or $70, and then the state gives $30, and that's how we get it. And I see Miss Bowens checking in. Good morning, Jamaica. I know I owe you. To owe somebody something, it'd be on your mind. I owe you. I got to get down there and just know, like, I got it in my car. I just need to float around. And then I got Miss Taylor, who's checking in, who has just been a rock star with us. Hopefully we'll have Miss Taylor in our fellowship sometime soon. No, we couldn't get you around for this time, but just thank you guys, Miss Taylor and Miss Cook, for always chiming in. Like, these are the conversations that people are looking at, people are sharing, people are giving comment, even our teachers, but definitely our parents, because these are topics that matter most to us. I think the best thing we have in this world are our kids. The best thing we want to do is make sure our kids are better than us. But let me know, as I told everybody, I'm missing my education partner in crime, as she's at a conference looking to learn how to direct more attention to the parent voice. But she'll be back next Wednesday. But until then, it's me solo dolo on here. So let me know if there's things you need to talk about. I know parents are continuing to jump on. I see Miss Nance is watching. Miss Nance, thank you for all you do. I know whether it's in the community, Miss Nance done been out registering people to vote. Miss Nance done been at rallies. Miss Nance has been through our fellowship. So again, thank you, ma'am, for all that you do. And look forward to seeing you around soon. But and so if it's not, yeah, thank you, Miss Nance. If it's not anything else, if you guys forgive me, like 30 minutes in, like, I am gonna keep this train moving. Again, we'll be back bright and early next Wednesday. Some of the things that we have coming up that are really important. We got our speaker series coming up last month. Man, that speaker series was phenomenal. We had Dr. Lawson, who really came on to talk about mental health. And that turned out to be a topic that is not just in one or two communities, like it is all across the district. And so that was a wholesome conversation. So be on the lookout for this upcoming speaker series that we'll have at the end of the month. We have a wonderful speaker who has been on before, who is going to bring up a topic that we have discussed before. And it was just as much feedback from parents as well, because we realized with the organizing that we do at Propel, um, that this is top of mind with parents. And a lot of times, parents don't know how to navigate this issue. And so we'll be releasing the picture so you could see, share it out, be ready to come on in. And we will keep this train moving. I see Miss Gardner says, no, thank you for being a vessel for our kids. We can't do this work alone. I always talk about, the Power Rangers. When I was a kid, I wanted to be sometime the Green Ranger, that was Tommy, sometime the Black Ranger is Zach. And I remember at times, even though they were superheroes, they couldn't defeat the villain. And then they had to come together to form like one entity, which was like the Mega Ranger. And then they were able to defeat the enemy or the person who was impeding progress. And so that's what we try to do, is come together. I see Miss Moffin is on here. Miss Moffin is a force in the community. Ms. Moffin, I think you'll like this upcoming speaker series because it's something that you care deeply about as well. And Ms. Johnson, definitely will keep using my voice. But again, like even having a conversation with Ms. Johnson earlier this week, Ms. Johnson, is heavy, heavy, heavy in the game. But she also realizes that the community that she supports, a lot of times, we get the wool pulled over our eyes. And so just thank you for being a silent partner in crime, in liberation, to make sure like your community is getting the resources they need in the direction. So thank you guys. Yep, the executive producer. We are wrapping up cohort 13, week 6 tomorrow. Woo, y'all, these parents they have pushed us in a place where, as we come out of the pandemic slowly, in a place of action. So I just thank all y'all, and I can't name all y'all, but Miss Fitzgerald, Mr. Miss Mitlow, Miss yeah, don't I ain't got the list in front of me, but you guys have. I'm telling you, after every Thursday, we debrief on Thursday nights and Friday mornings, and we just talk about how much fire comes from this group of parents in cohort 13. So thank you guys, and we will see you guys next week. Again, access denied every Wednesday at 11. Bring your topics, bring your issues, and we will keep this train moving.